Today, the man behind the curtain, Robert Mueller, spoke for the first time. Now, if you expected him to have a booming, powerful voice and a reassuring presentation, you were sorely disappointed. He seemed and sounded older than his 74 years, almost tired, exasperated, and yet determined to throw elbows on his way out the door.
The order appointing me special counsel authorized us to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. And as set forth in the report, after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Now, that one statement from Mueller, the man we heard was the consummate professional, speaks volumes about perhaps the true motivations behind this investigation and speaks to prosecutorial bias and a sense of unprofessionalism. Alan Dershowitz is accusing Mueller of putting his thumb on the scale, saying Mueller went beyond the conclusion of his report and gave a political gift to Democrats in Congress who are seeking to institute impeachment proceedings against President Trump. By implying that President Trump might have committed obstruction of justice, Mueller effectively invited Democrats to institute impeachment proceedings. Now, as I said in my podcast today, as I was watching Mueller in real time, this kind of reminded me of Jim Comey's, you remember, the FBI director's, his absurd non-indictment indictment of Hillary Clinton back in July of 2016.
Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information.
Oh my gosh, I watched that whole thing again today several times. It is more disturbing the more you watch it. Now, as with Mueller, remember, Comey's job wasn't to opine on Mrs. Clinton's conduct in writing or on camera. His job as FBI director was to investigate the case, then merely present his findings to the Attorney General, his bosses at the Department of Justice. But instead, what Comey ended up doing, well, he managed to tick off everyone. Now, setting aside the glaring fact that Hillary got off for conduct that others would have been jailed for, Comey did enormous damage to the integrity of the FBI and the rule of law.
Although there is evidence of potential violations of the statutes regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case.
Well, there's nothing reasonable about a system of justice where at least half the country thinks the entire thing is rigged. The deep state set candidate Trump up after it became obvious that he was going to win the nomination because they were terrified of even the remote prospect of an outsider becoming president of the United States. Exonerating Mrs. Clinton was an essential step to stopping Trump. But it didn't work. And once Trump won the presidency, they had to fire up the Russian collusion investigation via the phony dossier, the FISA court, and, of course, Agent Mueller helping along the way. And when that didn't work, after a 2-year-long investigation, they found no evidence of collusion and failed to get the obstruction goods on Trump. But now Mueller comes along in his final bow and is attempting to resuscitate the corpse that was his report. But for you little people, by the way, he's going to say nothing more.
Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report. And the report is my testimony. And it's for that reason I will not be taking questions today as well.
That's it. No questions. After completing their investigations, neither Comey nor Mueller needed to appear before the cameras. He didn't have to do that today, and Comey didn't have to do that back in July of 2016. So why did they? Now, it wasn't because of Comey's feigned concern for transparency or because Mueller was closing up the special counsel's office, leaving for the last time. Thinking about it today, it was all partly due to the old sin of pride. We all suffer from it. But here it's a concern that they both had for their place in history. Remember, both men are lifelong products of the Washington legal establishment that at its core reviles a man such as Trump. Think about it. To be defeated or even embarrassed by a man that they believe is as uncouth and undignified as Trump and his supporters, well, that's unthinkable. Comey turned himself and the law into a pretzel to give Hillary a pass, then used the collusion crutch that led to the appointment of Mueller. And today, Mueller actually tried to turn a lack of evidence on obstruction into grounds for impeaching a sitting president. It is wild. Both of them are trying to get back into the good graces of the in crowd. Both of them end their careers with a deafening thud. And that's the angle.